Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about linear equation word problems. We're going to go through type 1, 2, 3, and I think 4. And then the last section is going to be yours to do on your own. So I'm only going to be doing a couple of problems per section. The rest of the problems will be yours to complete before you turn this in. So to get started, type 1. We have the slope-intercept form. So in other words, for the notes, we're going to use this when you're given a rate of change or in other words, that's going to be your slope, or m, and a starting point. And that's going to be represented by B. So let's read number 1. We have Evan is going to the county fair this weekend. The admission to the fair is $5, and the cost per ride is 50 cents. If his parents gave him $20, write and solve a linear equation to find how many rides he can go on. So, first off, we're given a rate, and we're given a starting place. So we are able to find what M is and what B is. So let's go ahead and do that. So what would the rate of change be? In other words, what changes given some sort of time or some ratio? So if we read the problem, we have that the admission to the fair is $5. And the cost per ride is 50 cents. That right there gives us the information that we need to determine what M is and what B is. So if we begin that, M is the rate of change, and if we read, we have cost per ride is 50 cents. So M would be 50 cents, or in other words, it's going to be 0.5, or 50 cents. The starting place. In order to get inside of the fair, you have to pay a price. So the starting price would be $5. So B would be $5. Now we think about this because we have that you go into the fair, you pay your $5. Now you can walk around the fair, you can do whatever you want, except whenever you ride a ride. Whenever that happens, you have to pay 50 cents per ride. Well, Evan wants to ride as many things as he can. So let's go ahead and create an equation to go along with this. In this case, it's going to be a slope-intercept form. So we have y equals m, which is 0.5, x plus 5. So this is in the form y equals mx plus b. This is the equation we're going to be using to solve the next problem, which is we're asked to find how many rides he can go on. Well, how much money does his parents give him? $20. He's already spent $5 to get inside the fair. Okay? So, he started out with $20. So we're going to change y into 20. And set that equal to the equation that we found. And now we're going to solve for x. Remember that x represents the number of rides. Okay? Subtract 5 from both sides, since he's paying $5 to get in. We're left with 15 is equal to 0.5x. And if we divide everything by 0.5, we have that x is equal to 30. Well, what did x represent? That's the number of rides. So we can answer this question by saying Evan is able to ride 30 rides. And that's the solution to number 1. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2. We have that while visiting Crimson Lake, Sally decided to go kayaking. The rangers charge $8.50 per hour in addition to a $25 deposit to rent the kayak. If she rented the kayak from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., write and solve the equation to find the total cost to rent the kayak. Okay, so rate of change and starting point. Let's find those. So we have M and we have B. If we read the problem again, we have that the Rangers charge $8.50 per hour in addition to a $25 deposit. So what stays the same and what changes? Well, even if you don't, if you're not even out on the lake for an hour, you're still going to have to pay $25 to get a kayak. So we're going to say that our starting point is going to be $25. And then the rate of change would be $8.50 per hour. So that would be M would be equal to 8.50. Okay? Next, we have to create our equation. So y equals M x plus b, and this is the equation that we're going to use to solve the next part. If she rented the kayak from 11:30 to 2:30, how many hours would that be? Well, we have 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2. So we're going to have 3 hours that she's renting the kayak. So what you have to do is evaluate this equation at x equals 3, or 3 hours. So we have y is equal to 8.5 times 3 plus 25. Well, 8.5 times 3, that's going to give us, 25.5 plus 25, that gives us 50.5, or $50.50. So the total price, the total cost to rent the kayak for Sally is going to be a total of $50.50. And that's the answer number 2. Number 3 and number 4 are very similar. So go ahead and try those on your own. Moving on to number 2, standard form. Okay, so with standard form, we use this when the problem relates to 2 different objects. So when you have 2 different objects. And to see what I mean about that, let's go ahead and try number 5. We have that Sam ordered 2 hamburgers and 3 hot dogs from the concession stand at the baseball game. His bill came to $19.05. If the hamburgers cost $5.25 each, write and solve a linear equation to find the cost of each hot dog. Well, usually we'd use a receipt for this, but let's say we're curious and we know some math. So the first thing we have to do with these types of problems is define what x is going to be and what y is going to be. So we're going to say that x is the number of hamburgers, and y is going to be the number of hot dogs. And now we're going to set up an equation. So the way we can do this is we're going to use the price for the number of hamburgers that he bought and the number of hot dogs that he bought, and try to use the price of both to try and determine an equation that we would be able to use. So in this, he bought 2 hamburgers, so that would be 2 times the price, which is x, plus 3, since he bought 3 hot dogs, times the price of y. And his total price is 19.05. So remember, his bill came to be $19.05. If we know that the hamburgers cost $5.25, or in other words, we know that X is equal to 5.25, we have to solve the equation for Y. So if we do this, we're going to change X to 5.25 plus 3Y. It's equal to 19.05. And we can proceed and do some math. So 2 times 5.25, that's 10.5, plus 3y is equal to 19.05. If we subtract 10.5 from both sides, or from each side, we have that 3y is equal to, what is that, 8.55? Yes, 8.55. And then if we divide everything by 3, we have that the price of hot dogs would be equal to $2.85. So what we did, we set up variables. We said X is equal to the price of hamburgers, Y is equal to the price of hot dogs. We used the given information in the problem. We said Sam ordered 2 hamburgers and 3 hot dogs, so we said, well, that's going to be 2x plus 3y, and that's going to be equal to the total bill. So it was equal to 19.05. We were then given the information that hamburgers cost $5.25 or $5.25. We used that information to determine what the price of hot dogs had to be. And we were given $2.85 as our answer, and that solves the problem. So let's go ahead and go to number 6. So whenever I'm recording this, this relates to the state basketball game that our team was able to go to. And let's just say that at the state basketball team, they had $4 for advance tickets and $5 at the door, which is actually a pretty good deal. We had the total ticket sales for an evening production, or the evening game, were $440. So if the amount of sales that we got from advance tickets plus the amount of sales we got at the door, that would be added to equal $440. If no tickets were sold in advance, we are going to write and solve a linear equation to solve how many were sold at the door. So let's say that X represents the tickets sold in advance, and Y represents the tickets sold at the door. Okay? So we have that the advance tickets were $4 a piece, and the door tickets were $5 a piece. So if we take 4 multiplied by X plus 5 times Y, that gives us an idea of how we're able to figure out how much money we made. Well, on this particular night, they made $440. So this is our equation that we can use. Now, if we have that no tickets were sold in advance, in other words, we don't worry about X anymore, or X goes to 0, well, how many tickets were sold then? We can say 4 times 0 plus 5y is equal to 440. We're using this equation to help us solve what the problem was asking. 4 times 0 is 0. We're left with 5y. So we're going to divide everything by 5. That leaves us with y is equal to 88. So that means that we can say that 88 tickets were sold at the door. And that's number 6. And the rest of these problems go very similar. Might not be as easy as that one because we did have a zero come into play. So let's move on to the next problem. So the next type of problem, we have point and slope. So in other words, we're going to use point slope form this time. So when we have to use type 3 would be when the problem gives us gives a point and a rate of change. Now let's read through number 9 to see if we can get an idea of what I mean by that. So at Eagle Bay, it costs $12 per hour to rent a canoe. Nate and his friends rented a canoe for 4 hours and paid $68. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost to rent the canoe for 7 hours. Okay? So the first thing we have to do is determine what the point would be and what the slope would be, or in other words, the rate of change. So of course, the rate of change is whatever they paid per hour. So in this case, it's going to be $12 per hour. And the point, we know that if they paid $68 for 4 hours, so we're going to have the point 4, 68, where we have hours, total cost. So if they spent 4 hours, they paid $68. Now, given this information, we now have a point and a slope. We can use the point slope form to determine the slope intercept form, and then we can use the slope intercept form to help us determine the end question. So we need to ask, or we need to discover how much it would be to rent the canoe for 7 hours. So let's go ahead and work on this. So if we use point slope form, we're going to take y minus 68 is equal to the slope, which is 12, times x minus 4. And then we're just going to solve this until we get the slope intercept form. So distribute the 12. We have y minus 68, so we're going to add 68 to all sides. We're left with y is equal to 12x, and that's going to be plus 20. That is our slope intercept form. And now we're asked to solve a linear equation to find the cost to rent the canoe for 7 hours. Well, let's change x into 7. So we have y is equal to 12 times 7 plus 20. So 12 times 7 is going to be 84 plus 20, or in other words, $104. So we have that if you rent the canoe for 7 hours, you're going to pay $104. And we were able to do that because we know that if you rented it for 4 hours, you got you had to pay $68. And then we also know that you pay $12 per hour. So really what we were trying to discover would be the base cost. So how much did they have to pay up front in order to get the canoe? So let's move on to number 10, which may be a little bit more applicable to some people. We have that a construction company charges $18 per hour for debris removal, plus a one-time fee for the use of a trash dumpster. So you may have done this before, where your parents might be cleaning out an old house or something, and you call Waste Management and you get one of those dumpsters to appear. This is probably going to be almost the same way they figure out the price there. So we're given that the total fee for 8 hours of the service was $219, and we're asked to write and solve a linear equation to find the one-time fee for the trash dumpster. So like we did before, we have to determine what the base price would be. So how much are they charging for the use of the trash dumpster? So what was the rate that they're paying? Well, you're paying $18 per hour. So the rate would be 18. And can we discover a point? So we know that the total fee for 8 hours would be $219. So we can take the point 8, 219. And we know that that's going to be a point associated with it because we know 8 hours is $219. Let's use this information to see if we can create an equation that we can then use to find the one-time fee. So we have a point and a slope, so we're going to use point-slope form. So y minus 219 is equal to 18 times x minus 8. Distribute the 18. We have 18x minus 144. And then we have y minus 219 left over. So we're going to add 219 to each side. And we're left with y is equal to 18x plus 75. So remember that x relates to the number of hours. So if we're trying to discover how much the one-time fee would be, we could just say, well, how much is it for 0 hours of work? So we're going to change x into 0. We have 18 times 0, which is 0. And 0 plus 75 is 75. So we know that the starting price for this service would be $75. That's how much it is to rent the trash dumpster. And the rest of these problems go very similar. So let's move on to the next one. Next type, type 4. I think that's the next page. Yes. So, the type 4 is whenever we're given two different data points. So we use this when you are given 2 sample points. Okay? So let's read number 13 and see if we can discover what we're actually talking about here. To surf the internet for 15 minutes at an airport, it costs $4.05. For 40 minutes, it costs $5.80. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost for surfing the web for 1 hour. Okay, this is pretty reasonable to think. Really what we need to do is determine what our 2 data points would be. Use that to figure out how much they charge us per minute. And then use some of the data to determine how much the total price would be. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this. So our first data point is going to be 15 and 4.05. So for 15 minutes, it was $4.05. And then we have 40 and 5.8. So that means for 40 minutes, we have 5.8, so $5.80. Now, we have to find the rate of change. So how much are they spending per minute? And the way that we can do that is we can use those 2 data points to figure out what the slope would be between those. So, using the slope formula, we have m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or 5.8 minus 4.05 over 40 minus 15. 5.8 minus 4.05, that gives us 1.75 over 40 minus 15, that gives us 25. And then if we do this division, the 1.75 divided by 25, that is the same thing as 0.07. So in other words, they're paying around 7 cents per minute. Okay, let's use this to help us create an equation. So let's take this slope and let's use these data points to use the point slope form to give us the slope intercept form. So with this one, we have y minus 4.05 is equal to 0.07 times x minus 15. Let's distribute the 0.07. Uh, 0.07 multiplied by negative 15 is going to be negative 1.05. We're left with y minus 4.05. So in other words, to get rid of this negative 4.05, we're going to add 4.05 to all sides. And if we simplify this, we have that y is equal to 0.07x plus 3. Okay? And remember that x represents the number of minutes. So if we read this problem, let's figure out what the last part of the question is asking us. And it is to find the cost for surfing the web for 1 hour. So in order to find 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes. So let's change x into 60. So we have y is equal to 0.07 multiplied by 60 plus 3. 0.07 multiplied by 60 gives us 4.20 plus 3. And if we take 4.2 plus 3, that would be 7.2. So in other words, for an hour, they're charging you $7.20. So this was the equation that we discovered, and this was the answer to the question. Okay? So I want you to take the information that you've learned and try 1415. 16, and then 17 through 20 you can skip. So do not do 17 through 20. It's just a repetition of what we've already done. Okay? So that concludes the video for today. If you have any questions moving forward, I'd be more than happy to help you. This can get a little bit confusing until you get the hang of it, and then you're able to really just look at a problem and automatically see it. The amount of homework that's going to be with this is substantial. So it's around, I want to say 20 problems, but they're all word problems, so they may take you a little bit longer than normal. But I'm going to give you an extra couple of days to turn that in. But if you don't have any other questions, just go ahead and complete the notes, submit them, and start working on the homework. Let me know if you need anything, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time.